Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Questini here with a discussion about the latest legendary hero in Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires, Karanak, the Hound of Vengeance, who you can apparently recruit fairly easily in the game, at least as Scarbrand. I was a bit concerned about that because we all know that Scarbrand does have a very fast-paced campaign, and that because of that fast pace, as well as constantly moving through territory, it could be complicated. But thankfully, it is actually fairly easy. When you do recruit Karanak, you get the choice over here. The Pack of Vengeance, so you get the recruitment cost, speed, and weapon strength for Chaos Warhounds. This can actually be exceptionally useful for Scarbrand, because while it only lasts 6 turns, let's just say 6 turns is an eternity in a Scarbrand campaign in a lot of ways, or you can get the Master's Hound. Wound recovery time, which isn't particularly important for Scarbrand, but character experience, absolutely so, and immune to psychology. Either of these will give you significant benefits. Now, in this particular case, and for whatever reason, Scarbrand has a trireme as a ship. But in this case, Karanak is going to spawn in my capital because Scarbrand is at sea. So basically, in the case of recruiting this particular hound, all I needed to do was get a trophy hole. So it is a tier 3 building. I needed to get rank 16 on Scarbrand, which I already had when I loaded this campaign, and get this tier 3 building. Unsure how it is for the others, but I imagine it's probably something similar. Now, let's take a look at Karanak. Who's a good buy right there. I would find it surprising for Karanak to join Scarbrand, considering, well, Khorne doesn't like Scarbrand, and Karanak is fairly loyal to Khorne. But yeah, weird stuff like that aside, let's consider what he has to offer, what the good boy has to offer. He has a Lord effect that reduces recruitment cost for Chaos Warhounds and Fleshhounds of Khorne. He has a 6 leadership benefit for those units as well, which is actually pretty useful because these kind of units don't really have the best leadership, or at least the Chaos Warhounds of Khorne don't have the best leadership, but obviously Fleshhounds do. But still, it's a leadership benefit. You do get a Hex ability, which causes damage on a Lord or Hero, because he is a Lord and Hero Hunter, especially mages. So causes damage and prevents them from moving. He's got Wounded Prey, so he's reducing melee defense and reducing vigor. And then magical attacks. He also starts with the Brass Collar of Bloody Vengeance, which gives you spell resistance, leadership, and the Brass Collar ability, which negates magical weapons within the area effect, 55-meter range. In terms of ability, you got Scouting, Assassination, which, honestly, if you're playing a Scarbrand campaign, actually using this guy for that purpose would be a waste of time. But you get Scouting, which is quite important because it does give you the ability of getting more items, which is always useful in a Khorne campaign. Keep in mind, he is available for the Demon Prince, he is available for the Undivided Warriors of Chaos, but not Singvold, interesting. So Be'lakor, Archeon, Kolek, and Valkia, of course, as Khorne. And then in terms of skills, you get the following. At the top, you have Favored Play, so he hates Slaanesh, of course, but then you get also Ward Save against fighting Slaanesh and double experience gain for units when fighting against Slaanesh, which, to be honest, is not particularly important because Slaanesh is not really the challenge you're going to be dealing with. You do get Gore Feast, which gives you replenishment in battle, so that is really, really useful if you're in melee. And then you have 3 separate skill lines and a melee skill line that gives you Deadly Onslaught. So it's basically the same melee skill line that Khorne Lords and Heroes usually have, but then you have 3 separate special skills. Starting from the bottom, you get the Howl, which gives you his Howl, which summons Fleshhounds, and also gives those physical resistance. You get Stock, you get Upkeep, so you already start with 10% recruitment cost, you get 10% Upkeep, which is pretty useful. Then you get Bestial Chorus, so recruit rank and ability uses for his ability. And then quite crucially, Devastating Flanker, Stock, and 10% campaign movement range. Given the limited heroes that Khorne has, giving Scarbrand 10 campaign movement range is actually very, very damn significant. Because you gotta understand, Scarbrand can increase his movement, but he can't quite reach the movement cap, the campaign movement range cap. So having 10% movement range when you already start with a hero that gives you campaign movement range, it's not going to quite put you at the cap, but it's going to push you very close to it, which, yeah, this is actually a significant benefit. Like, I would say, if nothing else, this actually makes Scarbrand quite a bit better. Then you get, and obviously Valkia and others, but I would say it really applies to Scarbrand. Then you get reveals unit, 1 recovery time there as well. So units with stock, units in stealth. You get cooldown for Prey of Blood. You get benefits to assassination, as well as self-defense and hero action success chance as well, with Perfect Vigor. So all of these are worth it. Even if you don't much care for hero action success chance, it's still worth it. The one at the top gives you weapon damage, armor piercing damage, melee attack for every enemy unit in range with leadership wavering, which, given the fact that Khorne has a way of terrifying the crap out of people, is pretty strong. You get immunity to contact effects, HP, armor piercing, bonus versus large, and then terror, as well as reducing leadership. There's many ways to reduce leadership, because like there's traits that do so, and there's buildings that do so, so this is actually very useful. Also at the top you do get Locus of Fury. Now when we look at the Hound over here, he's got a decent amount of physical and missile resistance and a ton of spell resistance, which makes perfect sense, and by default he is going to cause fear. So how do I stand on this particular Hound? Well, you know, legendary heroes can be a bit of a mixed bag. There are some that are really powerful, but they don't necessarily feel that consequential. Because yes, they're powerful, but how much does that power actually represent a game-changing situation in a campaign? For Karanak, because of that campaign movement range, his dueling ability in combat, and believe it or not, Scarbrand is really scary, but it's much better to have Scarbrand killing as many units. But his dueling capabilities, stealth abilities, his speed, his damage, his magical effect benefits, which, by the way, counter your demons, is all of it combined creates a very significant benefit in your campaign as Khorne, and even for Warriors of Chaos and Daniel. In fact, Daniel, I would say, can benefit more from Karanak than even the Warriors of Chaos. Though it's not going to be able to turn his campaign into a good one, suffice to say. The fact that he only does have one item is a bit of a shame, and at one point CA will have to explain how they're able to get some of this stuff equipped on it, like, you know, Sword of Bloodshed. But all the same, Karanak is absolutely worth using if you are playing a Khorne campaign. It is a genuine benefit, it is worthwhile, and it does push a playstyle or benefit a playstyle for Khorne early on in a campaign, especially, that isn't just about, oh, I'm gonna get Warriors of Chaos of Khorne, or I'm gonna get, you know, Bloodletters. No, Fleshhounds are actually, well, Fleshhounds and Castwar Hounds of Khorne are actually more useful units than one might imagine, especially early on in the campaign. Later on, not so much scalability situation, but now with Karanak, you do have a reason to do so. Just when you're about to recruit him, make sure your Legendary Lord is in the water, because obviously it will spawn then pretty far away. I'm 100% certain that it is not supposed to spawn there. Although I gotta say something about all of this. You get control, which is like, of all the benefits you could give a CA, control is not necessarily one I would have given much of a crap about. I mean, seriously, who cares? I mean, maybe Daniel, I suppose, because of his issues with corruption. But even as Daniel, rebellions are not necessarily that common. They do happen, yes, rarely. In general, rebellions are rarely, so control is more limited. But for Scarbrand the Hound, with control, well, I wouldn't read too much into it, but yeah, it just kind of feels like whatever, basically, with respect to that. But combat ability, campaign ability, outside of that, pretty damn good, pretty useful. I would not want to face this thing in battle. And I guess the question is, who's going to get him when you're playing as a faction that doesn't have that possibility? Obviously, if you are playing one of those factions, the way the game works is you're the one who's always going to get him. But if you're not playing one of those factions, I do wonder how that's going to play out, and if Scarbrand might be able to get Karanak, which could actually mean Scarbrand under AI control could be a genuine threat, which he is not. Like, seriously, the AI really doesn't use Scarbrand properly. That would be all. Costin signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications, and stay tuned for more, because there's a lot of discussion to be had on the patch notes. But suffice to say, nerfing Vlad and Malistar played it into the ground on a campaign side of things. Well, I have some thoughts on that. Nerfing Tamarkan's defeat rate, oof. There are certainly some thoughts on that subject as well. Stay tuned for more.